All right, guys, today we have more PlayStation news and information to go over and discuss. We have multiple topics we're going to be covering in today's video. So before we dive into it, if you could do me a big favor and hit that like button to help the video out and show your support, I would greatly appreciate that. And make sure you hit the subscribe button as well if you are new here to the channel. We're starting here though with an interesting rumor surrounding the DualSense controller and new colors that are apparently going to be releasing. So according to a Spanish website, which apparently has a track record, Sony is set to release a batch of alternate colors for the PS5 DualSense controller, and it's going to happen pretty soon. The site has had some success leaking PlayStation Plus content in the past, but still, we do have to take this with a pinch of salt for now. Two different colors will be available for the DualSense to sit alongside the existing version, and they will reportedly be a red and black combo and a black and gray variation. So it seems like Sony's going to be giving us two new different colored controllers for the DualSense. And yeah, according to this website, this is happening, quote, very soon, unquote. So they don't provide us any images. They don't provide us any specific release dates, but they seem pretty confident. And again, they do have a bit of a track record, specifically with PlayStation Plus content. So it seems they do have some type of source, and I do believe this simply because it makes a lot of sense. Sony has been selling a lot of PlayStation 5s, obviously not nearly as many as they would like to because they're having trouble producing enough, which we will talk about later. But there are still millions of consoles out there, and by the time they release these controllers, let's just say it's in the next couple of weeks, maybe the next month or two, there's going to be close to probably 10 million consoles out there, and that's a lot of opportunities, for people to go out there and buy more DualSense controllers. A lot of big PlayStation fans right now who have a PS5 like myself, and I would gladly pick up a red and black controller or a black and gray, probably both, honestly. I love the DualSense controller, and we all knew that this was something that was going to happen. So, whether you believe this rumor or not, we know for a fact this is something Sony is going to pursue. And I would imagine over the course of the next year or two, we're going to have a bunch of different variations of the DualSense. But apparently Sony is going to be starting out with a red and black version and a black and gray. So let me know down in the comments below if you do have a PS5, or whenever you do get a PS5, if you want one, which of these controllers do you want to pick up, if any? But we're going to move on from that and talk about a brief update that Sony put out here for remote play. They tweeted out today, remote play is now available using the DualSense wireless controller to play compatible games on a range of Apple devices. Now, they do have a link here with all the details regarding remote play. I'm sure that most of you, if not all of you, know what remote play is. However, I'm fairly certain that most of you probably don't use remote play. Now, I will let you know, I have used remote play in the past, and it actually worked pretty well. I think it really depends on what type of game you're going to play. I really can't recommend it for most games because my issue with remote play is not the quality of the stream itself, because the quality of the stream is actually really good and it looks really nice, but there's some serious input lag, and you really have to be careful what type of game you play because that input lag is going to make it hard to enjoy the experience. But there you go. There's an update to remote play that Sony dropped on us today. But now we're going to talk about some very interesting sales data that was just revealed. And this has to do with Resident Evil Village, specifically on the PlayStation platform. So the latest survival horror excursion has debuted in the #1 spot, with almost half of the physical sales being the PS5 version. In fact, PS5 and PS4 sales combined accounted for 80% of physical units sold, which is pretty impressive. So I wanted to take a moment to highlight this because this right here goes to show why Sony really makes a big deal out of third-party partnerships, right? This is why Sony really tries to go after these big AAA juggernaut games and make sure that the PlayStation logo is everywhere, all over the place, when these games are being marketed and advertised, because these are the results we get. Now, it is worth noting that this is just talking about physical sales. It would be very interesting to see what this data would look like if we were counting digital sales, but I have to imagine it's probably not that much different, right? I think that we all know by this point that the bulk of game sales usually happen on PlayStation, right? This is just the way it's been for some time. But when you look at a number like this, 80% of Resident Evil Village sales were on PlayStation consoles. That is pretty crazy when you think about it. Now, I've seen some people bring up the argument that Xbox fans are being conditioned to basically not buy games anymore. I don't know that I believe that. I don't necessarily think that's true. I mean, there could be some truth to that, but I don't know that I believe that. It's an interesting, point to bring up, maybe. It's an interesting thought, but to me, it just seems obvious that Sony's ability to market these games in such a significant way, and this is a game that Sony really marketed big time alongside the PlayStation 5 and at pretty much all the PlayStation events, right? I mean, anytime there was a little mini event for the game itself, it was actually streamed and, debuted on PlayStation's official YouTube channel as well. So, I had to take a moment to make people aware of this, because not only are these some pretty intense numbers we're seeing here, and I'm sure Sony's very happy about this. I'm sure Capcom's also very happy about this. But it really does go to show, like, for people who are wondering, like, why does Sony always have these big marketing deals with these AAA third-party titles? This is why, because it works, and it works really, really well. So yeah, there you go. We're going to move on from that, though, and talk about something that, honestly, it's not good news. It's just the reality of the industry right now, but I'm sure that a lot of people are going to want to know about this. It has to do with a report that talks about the PlayStation 5 supply shortage and how, according to Sony, it's going to continue into 2022, which, to be honest, this shouldn't come as a big shocker, and it is disappointing, but I just want to keep everybody up to date, because there are seemingly millions of people out there who, even when they try like pretty hard to get their hands on a console, they still can't manage to get one and secure one, and they don't want to buy them from scalpers. So let's read over this report. It says here, Sony has reportedly told analysts that PlayStation 5 supply constraints are expected to extend into 2022. The company had previously indicated that supply was, quote, not likely, unquote, to increase this year. But according to Bloomberg, analysts have now been told outright that due to demand not subsiding anytime soon, even an increase in supply won't suffice. So it says, I don't think the demand is calming down this year, and even if we secure a lot more devices and produce many more units of the PlayStation 5 next year, our supply wouldn't be able to catch up with demand. This is what Chief Financial Officer Hiroki Totoki said at a briefing last week. According to attendees, these were, people who were asked apparently not to be identified, because I don't know that this is information they're supposed to be sharing publicly. And so, Sony declined Bloomberg's request for a comment. And it goes on to say, when an analyst expressed concerns about Sony being able to capitalize on the unusual demand during the ongoing situation in the world right now, Totoki reassured attendees that demand won't be subsiding anytime soon. He said, we have sold more than 100 million units of the PlayStation 4, and considering our market share and reputation, I can't imagine demand dropping easily. That said, Totoki did acknowledge that Sony needs to increase production as soon as possible to ensure that retailers have stock. Yeah, so it's not a great situation, honestly, for anybody involved. Maybe except the scalpers, which is, very unfortunate. But as I said, it's in Sony's best interest, obviously, to produce as many units as they can. What I want to highlight here is this. Sony's not saying that they can't produce more units. And I feel like I have to make people aware of this, because, some people are going to read this and be like, oh, well, I guess I'm just never going to get a PS5 because they're just not making them. No, Sony's not saying we won't be able to produce units. They're not even saying that they won't be able to produce a lot of units. What they're saying, and this could be them maybe trying to, word it in such a way where it makes the situation sound better than it actually is, but it sounds to me like they're saying, like, the demand is so incredibly high, that there's just no way they're going to be able to meet it this year. There's just no way. Even if they produce, you know, millions and millions and millions of units for the remainder of the year, they're just not going to be able to meet demand. That's actually, in my opinion, you know, a pretty exciting notion, because it is unfortunate that a lot of these people won't be able to get these consoles, but it's just nice to see that the demand for this console is there. And, you know, Hiroki Totoki, you know, reassures some analysts and, you know, some individuals who were part of this. He reassured them saying that, you know, will people end up walking away from the PlayStation brand and basically being like, you know what, I'm not even going to try to get a PS5. I'm not buying a PS5 console, or I'm not going to buy any more PlayStation consoles. And basically just the demand is going to go away because they can't meet it. He doesn't think so. And I am inclined to agree with that. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think it's easy for people to express their frustration. Like when you want to try to buy a PS5 and you can't, you're basically just like, well, yeah, I don't even want it. You know, I don't care anymore. But the second they're readily available, you know, you're probably going to change your mind, right? Like, assuming you still have the money to purchase one, you'd be like, all right, you know what? Yeah, I've been waiting for this. And I think that that's probably what's going to happen. So I don't think the demand is going to drop anytime soon. But I really hope that this doesn't become a serious problem for Sony, because, you know, this is a new generation, and it would just be such a shame to see a console not reach its full sales potential because they just can't make enough. I mean, that would really be a terrible thing, all in all, for everybody. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have for you guys today. So be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm going to be interested to see what you have to say about all of this. Be sure to leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.